A United States Supreme Court draft opinion was leaked not long ago revealing plans to overturn the Roe v. Wade case decision that legalized abortion. Sparking global outrage among women and reproductive rights campaigners across the world, the Roe v. Wade case brings up the topic of what abortion rights could be in Australia. The Roe v. Wade is a lawsuit created in 1973 to establish a constitutional right to abortion in the United States. Removing the lawsuit will allow individual states in the US to be more heavily regulated or could even ban the procedure.
So in America, in fact, there are some states that have traditionally had quite liberal laws relating to abortion. And in fact, one of the very difficult areas of abortion law or abortion provision is late gestation. So once a pregnancy is past, say, 20 weeks, it's very difficult to get an abortion if you don't have a medical condition or the fetus has a medical condition. And previously, women would actually go to Colorado in the US because that was one of the states that actually would provide this service to women.
For Australians seeking abortions, it is unlikely that Australia will follow suit with the US. However, if there is an overturning of Roe v. Wade case, it may spark discussions for Australian anti-choice activists.
It's hard to tell. It's a very divisive topic, and it is always very political. But from what I've seen of the way each of the states have gone about decriminalising abortion, I would be very surprised if any of those states went back and reversed their laws that they have made. So I think in Australia we have some very strong advocates of, women's right to abortion. We have very good policymakers, very good providers. And the parliamentarians who've put through all these laws have obviously done that to make it accessible to women. But we also have people who are very anti-women's right to abortion. I don't know that we have the same proportion of the population as what seems to be happening in America, but we certainly have people in positions of power who would be happy to try to reduce women's access. But how much success they'd have here, I don't know. But I feel like this, what's happening in the US, would give them some, momentum, ideas, incentive to kind of try different things out here.
However, while abortion in Australia is legal and accepted, there's a struggle to gain access to it. In Australia, currently, not all states have a good, solid public healthcare service provider of abortion and have a cluster amount of private healthcare services. Some states are heavily reliant on private healthcare services which can't always provide abortion. Relying heavily on the private sector to provide abortion, with surgical abortion fees starting from $400 to $600. Medication abortion fees amounts up to $100 to $500. The cost attached with abortions for private providers is not the only problem, but also living in remote areas where there are not going to be many abortions being done, there's hospitals not providing the service.
Lucky we have an excellent public service at the Royal Women's Hospital, but not all states have that. So not enough public services, not always enough access to later gestation abortions, especially if they're not for medical reasons. So women who are in difficult situations, perhaps the relationship turns violent and then they need to get a later gestation abortion, that's quite difficult to access in Australia. There's just huge parts of the country where you have to drive for hours to get to a service. So it's not accessible for everyone. It's quite accessible in major cities, but again, with that caveat that it does cost money.
According to Professor Keogh, the Australian public is strongly pro-choice and has been for decades. She says Australia is highly unlikely to follow the US lead on their decision on abortion, as there isn't a lot of anti-abortion and anti-women's choice movement. Drishtee Lokee from APLENTY.